Hey there, everyone. I'm Sandy Anastasi, psychic channel, intuitive astrologer, and soul coach. I'm here now with my tarot tip number 9. What do I do if all the cards in my spread are court or people cards? How can I read that? That's what this tip is about, folks. I've been teaching tarot for over 40 years. In every class I have ever taught, this is one of the primary questions my students ask. And here's an answer for you. Here's what to do if you pick some cards for a client or lay out your favorite spread to read for someone, and all or nearly all of the cards are the court, or in other words, the people cards. Firstly, the court cards are cards that represent people. So they would be the Jack, the Queen, the King in a regular playing card deck. And in the tarot cards, they are the Page, the Knight, the Queen, and the King. A few decks call the Knights princes, and some call the Pages princesses. So if you are reading the meanings from a book, don't let that confuse you. Many people have difficulty learning the meanings of the court cards. If you're one of them, please read or watch my tarot tip number 10. That's going to make it very easy for you to learn and remember them. So now back to your reading. You've turned up a card or in a spread, and it mostly has or only has sometimes court cards. So what do? How on earth can you read that? Firstly, if the prospect of reading them is too much for you right now, there's nothing wrong with picking up the cards, giving them a quick shuffle yourself with the whole deck, and then laying out a brand new spread. You can do that, it's allowed. Okay? But if you decide to try your hand at reading them, here's how you can do a top-notch reading in spite of all those people cards. There are things a card will tell you just from its suit, its orientation, meaning right side up or inverted, and also its position in the spread. So let's talk about those things. The card suit tells you all about the energy of the card. If it's a wand, the card is talking about physical, energetic, and sometimes dynamic things. If it's a pentacle, it's either talking about something involving finances or material things, or conversely about something that's very spiritual. If it's a sword, the card is talking about thinking and planning and communicating ideas and interacting socially with others. And if it's a cup, it's usually about emotional things, but it can also talk about intuition. The card's orientation is also important. That's especially true of the court cards. In general, if the court card is right side up, the person in the situation will be positive. If it's upside down, the reverse is true. But since the court cards also represent people, the orientation of the card reflects on the person too. So if the card's inverted, it could mean that they're emotionally or even physically ill, or that bad things are happening to or around them. Finally, if you're working with a tarot spread, you should look at the card's position in the spread. For example, if it's inverted in a position normally talking about the future, it could be inverted because your client hasn't met that person yet. In different spreads, the various placements that you lay the cards down all have different meanings. So be familiar with those meanings and apply the card's suit and its orientation to that placement. And you'll already be giving a reading before you even mention that the card's a woman, for example. As a matter of fact, most of the time when I do a reading myself, I'm already talking to my client about these things before I look at the card. I may not even know it's a court card yet. Before you look at the card as a person, there's something else to consider. Some of the court cards also act as, I call it, adjectives. They describe the attributes of another court card that's in the spread near to them. So a court card, for example, might be both a person and also an adjective card that helps to describe another card. So court cards frequently used as adjectives are these. First, the Knight of Swords, who describes nearby male court card as being someone who either acts without thinking if he's upright, or whose actions often bring harm to himself and others if he's inverted. Next, we have the Page of Pentacles, who talks about your client's inner guidance at work. And then there is the Page of Swords, who talks about gossip. If it's upright, it's just chatter. It's good, it's okay. But if it's inverted, it's bad. It's malicious gossip. Next, we have the Queen of Wands. When inverted, the Queen of Wands talks about a woman who is cheating or who has questionable values. It could be referring to the card itself or to any woman who's nearby in the spread. And last, all of the pages are information. So they talk about messages related to their suits, meaning being passed. If they're upright, the message would be good. If it's upside down, the message would be bad. In fact, this is why it's so nice to get an upright message in the Page of Pentacles, because then you know you're getting a good, positive message from your guides. So as you can see, you have already done a whole lot, and you've given a good and accurate reading without ever having even talked about a single court card as a person. I usually do all of these things before I talk about the specific people in the spread, and that gives me a much more well-rounded and interesting reading. Then, when I begin to talk about the court cards as people that your client might be involved with, I've already set the stage, and the reading makes so much more sense to my client. One last thought. Remember that if your client's a man, all of the male cards in the reading represent a different aspect of him. So read them that way first, and then go and read them as other people, other men he might know. Likewise, if the client's a woman, the same is true, that all the female cards in the reading are going to represent some aspect of her first. So as you read them first as your client, and then go back and reread them. Yes, you can do that as a person that has significance in your client's life. My next tarot tip number 10, is going to talk more about the court cards themselves in a lot of detail and how to really learn them quickly and accurately. I think you're going to enjoy it. Come on back and see that next tip. I'll be back soon. I'm Sandy Anastasia, and you can visit me online at www.sandyanastasia.com, where you can find out all about me and my work, find out how to get a reading with me or how to get coaching with me and my guides, how to study with me, and how to join my membership site. Thank you so much for listening, and have so much fun with the cards. Bye for now.